Hello, hello. Hey guys, welcome back. All right, so this is kind of a different channel. This is my other channel. So welcome, welcome. So on this channel, the way I like to do this is I'm a fictional storyteller, but in this one, it's very impromptu because you guys get to throw out a topic that you might like me to then expand upon and tell a story about. So with that in mind, if you would like to in the comment section, write down whatever your suggestion is for a story theme that you would like to hear a story about. Feel free. Now, today's story I'll get to in just a moment, and it was suggested by Sue Wilkinson. But I'm also going to mention that this is for December the 3rd. I like to usually put these out a little bit in advance. So at midnight, I'm going to be posting the video for December the 4th, and that is going to be all about the age of Aquarius, thanks to Don Divine. That was his suggestion. So just a little bit of an update there. But before we move on and get into this storytelling, I want to first also mention that on my other channel, Kate's Regretless Life, I just did a holiday party. And I thought, you know what? Why don't we do something a little bit fun here too? So tomorrow evening, that'll be on December the 4th, that'll be Monday, I'm going to go live at 6:30 p.m. and that is going to be Pacific Standard Time. And I'm going to go live, and then in the chat, you guys can throw out whatever topic you want, and I'll do like little mini storytellings. And we'll probably do that for like maybe half hour, 40 minutes, maybe a whole hour. It kind of depends on how fast or how slow my lips move. But just so you guys know, that's going to happen tomorrow night, December 4th. It's open to all subscribers. You'll be able to just drop a message in the chat, and then we'll just see how many I can squeeze in. I just thought it'd be fun, and we're interactive, and it's nice to do that. And why not? I just did it on my other channel. Let's do it here too. All right, so now, shall we get to this? So the topic for today, the storytelling that we're going to tell, the one that Sue Wilkinson suggested, was creating and following one's life purpose. So with that in mind, great suggestion, by the way. That's such a fun one to start with. But let's go ahead and begin. And I want to start out with, because this is kind of like a big topic, let's start with a message kind of from the universe. To me, that's maybe the best way to start, with something along those lines. Oh, there it is. All right, so universe, what's the universe got to say about checking in on life purpose? Ooh, the devil. Okay, so we start out with, hi everybody, great to see you. Happy Sunday to you also, Jojo. Be hot. EM, wonderful to see everybody. Okay, so with the devil card, yes, Capricorn energy. However, I said, what's the message from the universe in regards to creating one's life purpose and following it? And the universe responds with devil, fear. Fear is basically it. What prevents anyone from following their life's purpose? Fear. So that's the biggest hurdle. Also, being attached to things that maybe are not necessarily a part of our life's purpose, but things that we feel like, but I have to prove myself. I have to do this thing. I have to hunker down and demand I'm going to do this because otherwise my ego's at stake. This could be, and I think this is great food for thought. This is an awesome prompt for a storytelling, because to me, it's so thought-provoking for a message to come out that says, if a character were to say, my ego tells me that I won't be good enough unless I push myself to become the best in a particular like career path. They may not even like that career path, but there could be a lot at stake, like that's like really stemming from emotional scars, is what this would suggest. Something along the lines of, and let me put it this way. I can understand this because I've been there, done that. I've been that person who had to prove myself to me. And so I've even gone after, difficult things or things that I had no aptitude for, but I was like, I'm going to do this because I need to prove that I can do this. And I didn't really like it. And at the end of the day, why was I my own worst enemy about why did I have to grind away and prove something, instead of maybe looking at why was I so intent on trying to prove something to myself? Maybe I needed to look at that instead. So this is a great humbling message that I can totally identify with, even though this is, fiction and about a fictional character. We have the Emperor in the reverse, and we have the Ten of Wands. Definitely it's about ego. It's the biggest hurdle, or the biggest thing to contemplate for a character who is trying to identify what is my life's purpose and how do I pursue it, is to first ask oneself, why do we feel the need to pursue any particular path? Is it ego talking? And if so, maybe we can lay that ego to rest and then ask ourselves again, what is it that I really feel called to do? And why? Is it a sense of obligation, or is it a sense of like, these are my gifts and I love it and I want to expand and I want to do the things that I naturally gravitate toward that give me joy and that make my life feel fuller? Even like, and this is, how do I say this gently? Even if somebody says, well, there's this really difficult thing, but somebody's got to do it. And so it may as well be me. So I'll take one for the team and I'll step up and I'll do this thing that I don't like, that I'm miserable doing, that it's taking so much of my energy. And maybe it's a very like altruistic thing that a character is saying, I'll step up and I'll be the person who does X, Y, or Z. And it's going to drain them and it's going to require all of them. And it's not something that adds a lot to their life, but rather they continuously find a way to say, all I see is how much I still haven't accomplished because it's such a huge task that I've set in front of myself. I'm thinking even things like, stuff that can create compassion fatigue, like very altruistic goals of wanting to change the entire world for the better. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. But in reality, to think that all of that burden is placed on just one character's shoulders and letting that beat them down because all they say every day is, I still haven't changed the entire world. I still haven't, changed massive things that I thought were part of my life path to help others to do this massive thing. This suggests that that might be a toxic way of looking at it, and in fact would prohibit someone from actually feeling like they're really in the flow and following their life goal. Maybe instead make it a more manageable size. Instead of saying, I have to change the entire world, I have to do this huge thing that's going to have impact for everybody everywhere. Maybe it's like, hey, maybe I'm just going to help my next door neighbor, that darling little kid who lives next door, that, maybe I know a single mama and I want to, just make them have a nice bag of groceries around the holidays. That changes lives one at a time, because who knows how that one child or that one person next door to you is going to remember the kindness that was shared. Sometimes we change the world in little tiny drops in the bucket, not by changing the entire bucket of water. And I think that's what this message is. So on finding one's life purpose and following it, it says, I know it sounds weird, but it's almost like think smaller. Life purpose seems overwhelming, and this storyline says think smaller. Think about maybe, well, let's move on to the next segment of this. I think we said enough about that. By the way, this does not mean this is right. This is just fictional storytelling. So please know, I'm not telling anybody how to live. This is all fiction, and it's all just fun food for thought, just like listening to an audiobook. But an audiobook where we've got a topic and we're doing it like an improv storytelling. The next part is Six of Pentacles in the reverse. This actually says that one's life purpose perhaps should give something back to that individual. A life purpose doesn't have to mean that we just pour everything that we've got out. Because it's like, well, I came into this earth, into this world, and I'm a person with a spirit full of love and talents. Yes, absolutely. And I want to use those talents. Yes, absolutely. But if all we do is use those talents, at some point we're going to get depleted. We're going to be exhausted. This is suggesting that maybe to find one's life purpose is to find something that, and question, does this give something back to me? More than just like, well, I have a smile on my face because I'm glad I did this. I'm glad I suffered through this. I'm glad I martyred myself. This would suggest maybe not, because that won't be sustainable. So if we're going to follow a life path, maybe find something that actually genuinely gives us something in return. Like, again, it's awesome to do good works, but we also have our own bills to pay. How are we going to work a full-time job to pay our bills, plus take on this huge life purpose that could be, requiring so much? Sometimes I think what this is hinting at, in the softest and most gentle of ways, is that to do good, sometimes people think that I can't receive anything in return whatsoever. And this actually says maybe that's not the most sustainable way to approach and be able to follow one's life path. I think this is hinting that this is a character who wants to give a lot, but they also have to learn how to receive. And let's use this as an analogy. If I were to say, I want to, help plant millions of trees. Planting trees is physically, demanding work. And if I said, it doesn't matter, I'm going to do it day in and day out. Nope. I'm not going to get any paycheck for it, but I'm going to put in at least 6 hours a day. And then the rest of the time I got to be working and then try to squeeze in a few hours of sleep. I'm going to be so depleted. My body's going to be so sore. If I did that 365 days a year, A, when am I sleeping? B, when am I resting my musculature? I'm going to damage something. I'm going to, hurt my back. I'm going to wreck a shoulder. This says we got to give back something to us too. It can't just be a one-way street. I think that's a great message. Or it certainly puts it makes, I think, a life purpose a lot less like I have to throw myself, on the fire and then just be, like feeling like I have to give every ounce of me. And if it doesn't feel all consuming, then I must not be on my life purpose. I like this perspective on this that it's bringing up for contemplation. We've got a Spirit of Wands, which is the Queen of Wands. We got the higher self. We get the life force energy, and we got perspective. Oh my God, this is beautiful because first up, we have really, I would argue, 3 cards that together, this is actually the Hanged Man in any other deck, but you notice with this perspective card, what we actually see is everything raising, everything lifting, everything taking a character higher and higher, connecting them closer and closer to their higher self that helps guide them through this beautiful thing we call life. And this is a connection to the spiritual self, because you notice how this spiral is very much like, we could equate it to like the Fibonacci sequence. We could talk about like that sacred geometry that exists and like the natural logarithm of things, and how, there's an organization and structure to the universe that we too are a part of. And this is a character recognizing that and knowing that, wow, okay, so part of my life purpose is to actually genuinely listen to my higher self. But let's backtrack because we had this card first. How do I listen to my higher self? By being, I got to find the right vocabulary because otherwise it's going to come out wrong. It's like a Queen of Wands is probably the most self-possessed, I always think, out of all the queens, because there's somebody who goes, do I like this? Well, then I'm not going to do that. Why would I spend my time doing things that I don't even enjoy? It's going to feel like it takes 10,000 days just to get one task accomplished if I don't even like it. Am I going to go work in a career path that I don't even enjoy? Why would I punish myself? I'm not on this earth to be punished. Look at how beautiful this world is. I'm supposed to enjoy this, and I'm supposed to honor the life I've been given because I'm a sacred being too. I'm not just here to live a life of misery and servitude. I'm here to enjoy. I mean, why is the sky blue? Why do we have all these different gorgeous sunsets? It's just a gift. So shouldn't I honor that gift by making sure that I smile as much as I possibly can? This is not a selfish individual. This is not somebody who says, well, everything in life should just please me. Who's here to please me? Give me stuff that pleases me. I want it to be easy. I don't want to ever work hard, and I just want to be pleased. No, that's not what a queen ever says either. This is somebody, queen, king, doesn't matter. The general energy is the queen energy is the energy of the moon, the gravitational energy, the energy of nurturing, the energy of pulling things toward us that we want to nurture. But she is very discerning. This particular energy is very discerning, and they won't do things that they don't actually like. So finding one's life purpose, first off, let me make a list of 10 things that I really like. Not even things that I'm good at, but things that I really like. Then maybe it's taking a look at, okay, why do I like them? My higher self now checks in on that checklist. And I say, well, I like it because it challenges me in the right way. Maybe because I feel good doing it. Why do I feel good doing these certain things that I really enjoy? Let me look for, do I like doing it because it makes me feel like, oh, because everybody is like looking at me? Well, then that might be my ego that's being fed. So maybe that's not my life purpose. Maybe that's, a little bit of my shadow side, because we all got it, right? Okay, so let me go down the list of the next thing. What's another thing that I do? Why do I do, X, Y, or Z? What's another thing that I really enjoy doing? And what's my real motive? What do I gain out of it? And when our character gets to the point where they go, you know what? I found the thing I really genuinely enjoy. Yeah, I'll use myself as an example, throw myself out there. I have these channels because I genuinely love it. Now, I love art, so I like that. I get so much joy out of putting together different backdrops and putting together outfits and but I also love being a storyteller. I love the fact that it makes my brain have to think way harder than it normally does on a daily basis. And I feel like I'm not always such a nice person. In fact, most of the time I'm a shrew and I'm annoying and I'm all kinds of bad traits. But when I read stories like this, it makes me think at a higher plane, is what I always feel like. Because the characters sometimes, like in these stories that just kind of pop up, sometimes I go, wow, that's a way better way to think about that than the petty way I was thinking about stuff. So I get a lot out of it. Now, the added bonus is I've met amazing people all around the world, and I'm so incredibly honored. Oh, Sue, you're here. Hi, sweetheart. What a great topic. I'm so enjoying this one. Thank you for suggesting it. But the bottom line is there's so much wonderful stuff that comes out of it. So there's never a time where I go, oh, great, I got to sit down and do some videos because I intended to do that tonight. I love it. I feel so lucky that I get to, and it does challenge me, absolutely. And sometimes my brain is slow and I'm tired, and I can tell I'm not thinking smooth enough or artistic enough to find the story. And then I say, okay, back off. And that's why sometimes I don't put out videos, because there's something off in, like I'm tired, or I need to get my creative flow back up. Or maybe I have to put my creative flow someplace else in my life and it can't be here right now. The bottom line is when we find stuff that feels, I'm not saying is my life purpose, but I'm just saying this is something I genuinely enjoy. I would do this whether or not people were watching, is the truth of it. I try not to pump out tons of videos that nobody wants to see, obviously, but just because then it kind of feels silly. But on the other hand, I would just write them down instead of do it in this format. I won't stop being a storyteller. I'll just probably produce it in a different way. But I get a lot of good energy back from, and it makes me more creative. So I really gain a lot from having an interaction. That's the reason I like it. It's why anybody like performs any form of art, I think, it is really fun. You do it first for the love of it, but secondly, it's a great energy exchange and it's so satisfying. So why then does a character do the things that they do? I just explained, at least for me, I feel like it's a multifaceted thing. Um, that's maybe the best way to describe a character who's looking at, I mean, I think this character is going for more than what I've just described. Obviously, this is a fabulous hobby that I deeply love. It's a part of who I am. But on the other hand, this character is, I think, operating a much higher level than I personally am, which is why it's a lot more to contemplate. But our character might be using some of those same methods of asking, why do I do what I do? And as they ask that, they come to that conclusion that, oh, wow, it fits with my life source energy, and it actually gives me more energy. There's an aspect of it that fills me. There's an aspect of it almost like food that gives me more nourishment. Like I said, I get a lot from the creative flow. Granted, sometimes I still got to pull back and rest, but most of all, I do it because I get like a happy glow, and I feel like it adds more value to my life to do this. That's what this character is discovering also about their tasks, about the things that they like. Then we get to the Hanged Man. And the Hanged Man is contemplating things from a different perspective. Again, with the higher perspective, since we see these hot air balloons. What I think our character is realizing is they may recognize they have a multitude of things that they care about, and realizing maybe it's not one life purpose at all. Maybe it's a multitude of life purposes. Maybe this character has many things that they're naturally good at, they naturally love doing, and maybe they don't have to see it as, I have to find my life purpose, because that puts us like, what if I spend 75 years of my life on this planet doing one thing, only at the end of my life to say, oh my God, I would have been better at whatever, tobogganing. I never even pursued tobogganing because I thought I needed to or should work in counseling or something. Instead, our character is allowed to be much more versatile. They can love more than one thing. They can have more than one career path. They can have more than one life purpose. I think our character is recognizing, maybe if they write down the list of things that they like and then ask their higher self, why do I like those things? They just might then shrink the list a little further by saying, what things bring energy back into my world when I do them? And then they may wind up realizing it's like a whole bunch of stuff, but not everything all at the same time. I don't have to run myself ragged. I can say maybe for 2 or 3 years, I'm really interested in one thing, and then that kind of fades. And then maybe 10 years, I'm interested in something else. And that's part of my life purpose. I think that You know what I feel like, and I maybe this isn't any of the way to explain the answer to this, but this is what we got, so it's all I can go with because I go with what we got on the cards. It prompts us to contemplate on behalf of this character not only what if there is no one particular life purpose, but what if a character's life purpose is to partake in different things for different amounts of time and then let them go. Almost like think of how anything in life changes and evolves over time. If we look back at like old, let's use dancers as an example. If you look back at old black and white movies, Fred Astaire and stuff, they were these amazing dancers, right? But the dance styles of today are completely different from back then. But we still can see how they, it's like we're standing on the shoulders of giants, other people who've done things and they had their time, and then we've taken elements of that dance moves from them and evolved over time and integrated that and added our own flavor to it and then turned it into something else. It's almost like maybe everybody contributes different to the collective for their segment of time. That's where their interest is, and maybe that's what this whole thing is. Remember, the perspective card being hangman means we look at something from a different perspective. What if a character's life purpose is to contribute to the general collective, put our little carrot and potato in that stew, and then we move on, and then the next time we put something in that stew for the collective, we contribute little chunks of beef or whatever kind of stew we're making. My point is, why would we ever think that it only has to be one life purpose and we're supposed to follow it to the end and never deviate? Maybe it makes more sense to let ourselves off the hook and say, if this is what I feel called to and it's satisfying my soul, why isn't that my life purpose for now? And then I'll have another big contribution to make to the collective when I get interested in something else next. I think this almost brings up the question. I think in the past, at least in the United States, at one point in time, I think it was very much like the idea was you have one career path and you build your 401k and you retire with that company after 45 years, and that is still a remarkable thing, don't get me wrong. But I think as times have shifted, I think that there's a lot more people that go through big career shifts throughout their lifespan. I think we see maybe a little bit more and more of that. But maybe it's because the world needs more diversity in general. And maybe it's because we're giving ourselves more freedom to grow and expand beyond one particular pursuit. That's the only way I could explain this story. I know that's not a direct answer in any way, shape, or form, but it's not supposed to be, because it's all just for contemplation. But I really enjoyed that one because it feels like the bottom line is whatever a character is drawn to, that might be their life purpose at that moment in time. And why would they ever undercut themselves and say, but I'm not doing enough, I'm still not contributing enough? Who knows how important that is? I mean, there are people, let's go back to that idea of like how dancers over time, I'm using it as a visual, but how dancers have perhaps set a tone, and then other dancers throughout the years have, utilized that initial dance move and then integrated it and reshaped it and changed that. But things like the arts, things like dance, that can save people's lives. You see lots of stories where it's like, someone who's got a rough, background or something, a difficult childhood, and then they find something artistic, some outlet, and that can really help direct them. And that you never know how much something seemingly as insignificant as dance moves could actually impact people's lives. And I'm just using that because that sounds like that's not meaningful enough, but that's not true. It could be incredibly meaningful. So anyway, that's what I've got on this one. I'm going to leave that one. And you guys, thanks so much. Tonight at midnight, I will post the one for December the 4th. And that is going to be thanks to the suggestion of Dawn Divine. And that's going to be about the age of Aquarius. And then you guys always feel free to drop in your next selections in the comments of what storyline theme you might like me to go with. I just randomly select them. If I don't get suggestions, then I'll just use one of the decks of cards that I created that I've come up with my own ideas on. And then don't forget that Monday night, so the 4th at 6:30, I'll be going live and we'll do some more interactive ones where you guys can put it right there in the chat, and we'll go ahead and do as many stories as I can. All right, you guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me. Lots of love, you guys. Thank you. Jojo, you're awesome. Em, namaste. Thanks for being here. Hi, MM. Wonderful to see you, hon. St. Jane, hi. Hey, Roberta. Oh, that's a great one. Will you put that in the comment section, Roberta? Only because I won't see the chat again, and so for me to scroll through and have that as a chance to win, or pop in tomorrow night when I go live and throw that out there. But that's great. All right, you guys, take care. Oh, Broken Beef for Bliss. Great to see you, sweetie. All right, you guys. Bye for now. Thanks again, Sue.